Well, hello, fellow witches and occultists and everybody else. I'm Savannah from Black Witch Coven. Welcome to the Ask Savannah 2025 series. So, if you're brand new to this channel, this is where I'm going to answer some questions that people have emailed in, or young Crystal has copied off previous video comments and put them in a lovely little list for me. And what I do is answer these questions in my own little way, in my own little style, based on my knowledge and my experience from witchcraft over many decades. Yeah, so I do that in my own little way. You don't have to agree with me. It's totally cool if you don't. What I love about our path is that we all have different opinions, and that's totally okay. We're not supposed to be copycats of each other. And in this space, you can have your own opinion. Have your own comment under this video. Just keep it respectful and keep nice, because I'm very nice until I'm not. But most of the time I try and keep nice. Anyways, so I just wanted to add here a bit of housework for us. I asked young Crystal not to make a lot of comments on the comments some of you guys are making under the videos where she's saying Savannah's going to answer this in the next video. I'm like, Crystal, what are you doing? I can't answer all these questions in the next video. You're going to piss people off. So she if you've seen her remove some of these responses, that's because I asked her to. I'm just like, you're killing me, girl. You're killing me. But really the best way for you to ask me a question is to just jump on the website. Up the top menu bar, there's the Ask Savannah. Basically, it's a form on the menu bar, and you just write a comment in, or write into support@blackwitchcoven.com and just put in the subject line, I'd like to ask Savannah this question for her video response, and write down the question. And if it is, topical enough, or I get enough questions of that subject matter, of course, I'm going to answer it via video in the best way possible. All right. So that being said, this week, I want to belt out a couple of these questions in quick form. So like maybe deal with 10 questions in the next 10 minutes or so. And, obviously these are questions that is important to you guys. And normally the questions I answer are questions that have been asked by a few people. So it's topical, right? Okay, let's get into it. Question number 1. Deity asked, D-E-I-T-Y, is that correct? My bad if it's not. Says, was wondering, getting names of spirits you consort with tattooed, would that lend you a hand in spiritual protection? Oh, specifically spiritual protection? Well, that's a very good question, and possibly yes. So tattooing the names of spirits, whether they're deities or guides or demons or gods, or even the sigils, when we think of some of the Norse sigils, Viking sigils, what we call them now, or other entities, could in theory serve as protection, if you want, a form of spiritual protection, depending on your intent and belief system, of course. Some of us who are in pagan cultures or dark arts cultures, the way we inscribe a demon sigil on our bodies could be a way of showing great respect to that spirit or being, but also a way to invoke their presence or their favor, like a permanent sigil or prayer etched on your skin. So the idea is like, if you're honoring them visibly, you're strengthening your bond, potentially earning their protection in return, right? Like a spiritual I got your back pact. On the flip side, it's really not a universal guarantee. Some would argue it's almost like consorting with a trickster spirit. You just never know what mood it's in. You never know how it would backfire. Others might say having a tattoo, especially of a demonic being or a sigil on the body, is just ink unless you charge it with a ritual or intent or keep the devotion going. Without that, it's like slapping a protected by spirit name on your body and expecting that the spirit would notice. There's also the question of, would the spirit actually see it as respectful? Would a spirit feel honored by their name on your body, or offended by the lack of your continued sincerity. You know, for me personally, I do have some sigils and various art on my body, but it's well hidden, and there's actual reasons for that. But everything that I have on my body, I want it there for my lifetime. Apart from one guy I was dating once upon a time, and then I took the ink off like within a week of putting it on. Yeah, I was, hey, I'm Aquarius. I changed my mind. But when it comes to anything of a spiritual essence, of course, I'm super, super serious about what I put on my body. Everything has very specific meaning. Everything is done with intention. And it's something that'll be on my body to the day I die. I want this body to disintegrate into the earth with all of this energy and all of these charged sigils being released into the ground. To me, that's important. But it doesn't need to be that for you. I think personally as well, all of this is highly personalized. This is something that really is between you and the ink and your spiritual practices. So deity, basically what I'm saying is that getting a spirit's name tattooed might amplify your connection for protection. It's like wearing your allegiance on your sleeve, literally. You wouldn't just throw the sigil of Lucifer on your body and not really believe in Lucifer or what Lucifer does, but still expect Lucifer would offer you protection. So essentially, this protection is down to the relationship that you build with the spirit, not just with the ink. Okay, the second question is from Todd, and Todd asks, do the pentacles of Solomon work overnight? Can they help me with problems? I will answer this super quick and then we'll get into a little bit of detail. And I do like this question. Do they work overnight? No. Can they help me with problems? Absolutely yes. Todd, I love the Pentacles of Solomon. I don't really like the backstory because it goes, Solomon trapped all these demons in vessels and refused to release the demons unless the demons did his bidding. So who really is the asshole here? Solomon or a demon? I don't know. I'm biased towards our demons being the good guys. But anyways, the Pentacles of Solomon can work very effectively. And yes, I've used them, especially in folk magic practices. They work really good when you're writing petitions on them, rolling them up, putting them in mojo bags, sitting them under candles, charging various other talismans. Even when you're charging one of the Solomonic necklaces and wearing them, they can be quite powerful for specific purposes. But no, they don't work overnight. Now, to get into a bit more detail, and this question really could do with its own video itself, and if anyone is interested in talking about planetary hours and how they're applied, both to, I see in modern witchcraft, they're starting to ask or work in a lot of the planetary hours into witchcraft practices, which is great. We've been doing it for years. But in the dark arts, definitely we work various hours to enhance our own spell casting practices, and with our connections to the demonic forces. It is said that certain demons work with it within certain planetary hours, and so we definitely utilize those correspondences to enhance our own rituals and spell practices. But it's the same with the Solomonic seals. They're based on, or they're highly associated with planetary influences and spiritual powers. So by that in itself, it takes a lot of planning to actually properly prepare the seals so they can work effectively. So you could either work the planetary hour or the planetary day. It's probably best to work the planetary day and the right corresponding planetary hour for a lot of things. When I was brand new into more high magic practices, I would definitely use all those correspondences. Had huge success doing it, but it does take work, to answer your question simply. Now, also related to your question of timing, I feel like the Solomonic seals have more of a subtle energy, And there's nothing wrong with that. We're just really spoiled these days, and we expect things instantly, like an Amazon order. It's here next day. Almost it's preemptive at this stage. My Amazon orders come to the door and I didn't even realize I ordered it. But with your Solomonic seals, they are rather subtle. And so if you're more realistic with your magic, if you're working towards specific things and they're within your ability to actually acquire whatever it is, if it wasn't for X, Y, and Z, I feel like you're going to have a great result when it comes to Solomonic seals. So think of them as tools that align energies and intentions over time, more than what you think of them as a magical switch that just flips overnight and you get what you want. So your second part of the question was, can they help with problems? So yes, they might help, depending on the problem and how you use it. So I love the Solomonic seals, especially for Jupiter-style magic and Venus-style magic. I really feel like you can have really fast-tracked success using the seals for those two purposes. Venus, pentacles for love and harmony. Jupiter for wealth and success. Venus, of course, Venus is associated with Friday. And so you could work that pentacle on Friday or in the hour of Friday. These charts, actually I can put a link. You can find them online everywhere probably now. I'll put a link below to our website where we wrote about this, 2 decades ago. And so there's lots of free content there for you just to use this as a stepping stone into your research. And there's also debate on the accuracy of the timing as well. So when you get further down the track, you may want to adjust the planetary hour chart to suit what you think it should be. It's all to do with basically our calendars and days being off and so forth. This is where you use this as basically a stepping stone. You use it as a template to build your magical core. And then, of course, you modify it according to your own skills and ability and make it into something that works for you. But it does, the chart provides you a good way of knowing when, for example, the timing of Jupiter will be. Maybe it's 10 o'clock, maybe it's 11 o'clock on Thursday, maybe it's 2 o'clock on a Friday, blah, 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 whatever it is. It's like a ready reckoner for working that out. Now, I'll also add to this that you do need to have faith. I'm going to do a video on, coming up pretty soon, on money magic woes. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about having faith. And not having faith or not having belief is one of the key ways of not having success in your magic. And this is very true when it comes to the seals of Solomon. The Solomonic seals and the verses that you have to say to charge and activate these seals, you have to believe in what you're saying and doing and understand the tradition and the power that these words have to literally charge your intention in conjunction with the planetary hour. So it all has to work into one. If you don't believe in the process and you're going to half-ass it, then it's not going to work for you. The other thing I want to add is that it's not just one and done. If you're learning something and it's the very first time, then of course you can't just do it one time and wonder why it didn't happen. Now, sometimes it might. You'll probably jump on a Reddit or somewhere else and they're saying, yeah, it worked for me the first time. Good for you. But maybe you have some success you have some skill in some other area that's actually lending to your ability to be able to manifest in this area as well. Now, there's a ton of seals, so you should be able to have practice in so many different areas. Experiment, try it in different ways. Try it the traditional way, try using it, like I said, under a candle, try using it in a mojo bag, get a little bit creative. And the more you do it, the more it will feel real to you, and then you'll begin to manifest, especially if you're fresh, you're asking this question, can it help? So obviously you are very fresh, but you really just have to do it more than once. Now, also I will add my own personal experience when I was practicing with all of this and I didn't have the internet to get lost in what other people are doing. Of course, I was curious. I was interested in making this all work. I was probably just reading it out of one book on how to make it, like what was this all about? And so I really had to look at what each seal was, how to activate that seal, what it was related to, what planetary hours were. I had to be curious and try it out. Like I didn't have that expectation that it definitely should work. And so I feel like that's why it began to work. So anyways, that's my experience. But yes, the Seals of Solomon definitely can help you with your problems. Next question. Right, next question is from, is it Silvia? I've been trying to find my patron demon and recently contacted King Paimon via Solomonic Ritual. Oh, that's good. My question was whether he wanted to work with me. Simple yes or no. Now, Savannah, now, answer me now. As I had read, he is picky. Well, let me get right to it. Yes or no? How the hell do I know? I'm not in my ritual room. I haven't summoned King Paimon. I don't know shit about you, so I don't know. Simple yes or no. Come on, girl. I've been trying to find, recently contacted someone about it, whether he wanted to work with me. Well, you said that you contacted him via Solomonic magic ritual. How was your ritual, girl? Were you able to make contact? Is this your first time doing a ritual? The same as I answered the previous person. A lot of people are just trying ritual once, and I forget about this, that people are only trying things once and they're very disappointed that they haven't got that yes or no answer or they didn't get the result. The same response I gave to the Solomonic seals. You've got to keep trying. You've got to keep at it. For most of you guys, you haven't activated your sixth sense yet. So you don't understand how to connect to energy in any way. I will add here, in case you haven't heard me talk about this before, it is very improbable all of your senses are open and active right now, especially if you've been in a zombie state for a long time. And I don't mean that in a demeaning way. What I mean is that you haven't spent time activating those senses of yours. And so if you haven't done that, then of course you haven't awoken that beast within you. So that's basically my answer to that. And can he be picky? Yeah, he can be picky, but you know what? Well, try giving offerings. I've got a whole area here where I have different offerings to different spirits because I'm about to do some deeper ritual for somebody for a higher reason or even for myself. And I want to give some offerings. I'm going to show up to the front door. I'm going to bring some gifts. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm not just going to jump in there and jump on the demon and go, gimme, gimme, gimme. Right? So that would be my tip. If they can be picky, but make yourself a friend before you get into the ritual and you'll probably have more success. And then you can work out if he wants to work with you for yourself. So let's get into the next question. What have we got here? Richard asks, can a spell be done to turn my wife lesbian? Are you wanting to become gay and so you want your wife to be lesbian? Is that why? Or do you have a lesbian fantasy that you want to involve your wife with? I don't know, Richard. Bit of context, maybe not. But let me answer this really quickly. No, you can't do a spell to change somebody's sexuality. I mean, I suppose it's a fair question these days with everyone hybriding into something else. Now, of course, in black magic, in hoodoo, in other forms of dark arts, yes, you can bend somebody's will. Maybe you can create a lesbian experience where your wife didn't want to be a lesbian, but she's gay for the day. Actually, out of Mesopotamia, there are binding style rituals where one could override one's natural inclinations. But I would argue that this is short-term at best. You could summon Lilith or Asmodeus to tap into this raw, chaotic style of energy. And then, for example, if you're doing something binding with a puppet, you would target the psyche with really strong intentions, such as make her love women. But it's, once again, not just once. You would do this with very strong intention over time if you really wanted to make this stick. However, it really does depend on your wife's personality type. If she's a very strong heterosexual, there is no way you're going to bend her will. It sounds like a lot of work. If you wanted to get your wife into a lesbian situation, why not take her down the local swingers club? Introduce her into that type of lifestyle. Or if she's a hard no on it and you're a hard yes in getting into that lifestyle, I think divorce would be the way to go. Next question. Okay. Oh dear. I am a male submissive. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Is it possible to become a sex slave to a demon? I have been trying to get a femdom succubus or demonic sex spirit for years with little success. Oh, it all sounds so good until it's not, is it? Oh dear, sex slave for fun or whatever your handle is. You don't know what you're asking for. If a succubus really takes over you, it probably won't be what you want it to be. It's not going to come at the right time and play your game. It's going to be on its own terms. I'm dealing with clients right now with this issue and they do not want it. In fact, that is the very first question I ask when I talk to especially guys who have a succubus and it's a real problem in their life. It's very hijacking. And I'll say, are you really calling to this succubus? Do you really want this entity in your life? Is this something that you want to keep around because some days it feels great and other days it's just annoying? And without a doubt, all of them say, no, I want it gone. I really want it gone. Succubuses are not the same as demons. They're different entities altogether. In fact, they're quite sassy. They're quite cheeky. But I will say that they can be quite exhausting. They will outlive you. They will exhaust you. They will hijack you. You can try and shut them down or shut them out, but then they will start creating havoc in other areas of your life. So if you want one of them, go for it, but be very careful what you ask for. I would never allow any demon, for all the years I've been working with these demons, there's no way I would say, come into my body, possess me, take over. It'd be like spiritual suicide. Why would I want to give up my free will? It's crazy. And you don't have to. So next question comes from, we actually had a consultation this week. So I won't say your name. I'll call you Miss N from a snowy state. She says, what should one do when deities has reached out to them? A practitioner who doesn't really have much experience with deity worship or working with deity. Now, yeah, we did have a consultation this week and we touched on this in great detail. And so I will answer this question very quickly here. In your case, you'd had signs, or there had been signs that various deity, and I remember one was Hecate, had been reaching out to you, and you had very clear signs for over 2 years to begin this bond or connection. Now, we did talk about you don't have a home environment that's conducive to a lot of spiritual practices, or you don't want people in your home to know about your spiritual practices, and that is 100% fine. And we spoke about how ordinary items can be used for respectful spiritual practices or spiritual worship, deity worship, without causing other people in your house to be uncomfortable or to get into conflict with other people. And so what I recommended was, now that it's time, is when you want to immerse yourself in a practice that you have never um, you haven't really experienced deity worship or worked with a deity before, I gave this little 3-step introduction, if you want, to really immerse yourself into it. To take it seriously, I use the example of having a spiritual baptism or being christened in the name of the god or the goddess. And it doesn't need to be complicated. Use AI and just get a little, basically a baptism script where you're giving a devotion. I don't like using the pact when it comes to someone brand new and they're talking about goddess worship if they're not on the left-hand path. So the idea of a baptism is to cleanse yourself from original sin. Yeah. And basically symbolizing a spiritual reboot. And that's essentially what you're doing. You don't have to go and sit in the bird bath or go and have a shower or jump in the pool. You could if you want, if it makes you feel good, if you write as part of your AI script for your new baptism. It doesn't have to be too dark and mystical. You don't have to cut up a goat. All you have to do is basically write out a dedication, in her case, to the goddess Hecate, and give yourself a devotion. From this point in time, you're really wanting to step onto the path. You want to walk on this path with the goddess in hand and see where you go on this journey, right? It is a commitment to this new journey you want to go on down this path. And maybe it could be a piece of rose quartz that you've got sitting in your room and that will reflect the goddess. It could be, look, it doesn't matter. It just has to have spiritual significance to you. And there's so many other ways that you can give your offerings. If you can't light candles and incense, like we discussed in our consultation, then your time is everything. And of course, I'm going to say it, what's wrong with getting a little lancet, pricking a drop of your blood and putting it on that rock, or putting it on a petition paper? Oh, I did mention this to her. If you're writing out a baptism script or a dedication, I said to release it via the flame, to transmute that, to send it off into the spiritual world. And of course, then you don't have that piece of paper laying around in the bedroom. Now, there is the concept of an unbaptism, which is very popular in especially left-hand path circles, and there's nothing wrong with that. But unless you're very strong in the mind, sometimes doing an unbaptism before you do a baptism and feel like almost like that rebellious teen where I'm, fuck you, mom, and running out the door. When you truly don't give a shit anymore about what others think, then, why do something that could be triggering? Just let it go and focus on a new path. If you need to do it, of course, do it. But I'm just saying, for a lot of people, it can just, I don't know, be quite triggering. Now, I also recommended that she starts to plan when she is going to do her offerings or her dedication. As someone who's brand new into goddess worship or worship of deity, it doesn't feel real yet. It doesn't feel like it's part of your programming or part of your routine, I should say. And so, for example, like it is to go to church on a Sunday or go to the mosque on a Friday, or I don't know what Jewish people do, but it's just automatic that you would do those things if you're from those religions. And so now that you're on this path of deity worship, when does that suit you to give your time for offering, for a prayer, for spiritual communication? Some people do it every day. If that doesn't suit you, then put it on your calendar. I use a Google Calendar for everything. It's so easy for me to have my days of dedication. I've got all of this actually programmed in. My time is extremely structured. I need to be extremely structured. And so, for example, Monday mornings are my time of dedication for Lucifer. Every week, it's bam, popping up there in the morning. For Astaroth, I do Wednesdays for Astaroth, for example. Bam, it's there every Wednesday. And this is when I do my devotions, a heavier ritual for them. Of course, I've got lots of other spirits I work with, and so I'm quite structured. But to the point, it is on my Google Calendar and it'll pop up. it'll pop up. Everything's going to pop up. And so I recommended that for her as well. And thirdly, I suggested ways to fast track her ability to communicate with spirit. Tarot reading can be quite difficult or hard to learn, or it takes time to learn. But I think the fastest way is really pendulum, to communicate with the spirit, to see very quickly some yes or no responses from the spirit, to get answers from the spirit if she needs, and also to check in with if the way she's serving spirit is desirable to the spirit. There's other ways, of course, telepathy, but unless that gift is worked on, it can take a long time to develop that skill. So I like the use of a pendulum. It's really quick and easy to do. This is from John W. Do you still think voodoo is European? What? When did I ever say voodoo was European? Please. I mean, that's just crazy. Voodoo is a religion and it's not from Europe. I don't know who you're confusing me with, John. All right. What else? Can a man be a witcher? Isn't a witcher a movie? I'm assuming you meant witch. But yeah, a guy can be a witch. Of course he can. Witches aren't just females. And really, it's terminology. If you're wanting to practice magic, call yourself whatever you want. Don't worry about what other people say. I don't. I'm Aquarius, so I don't give a shit. But that's just me. All right, that's all I have interest in answering today. But thank you so much for asking me the questions. In all seriousness, I have lots of fun. Next week, I'm going to be answering the question on the money magic woes. I think everyone wants to know about how to do better money magic. So I'll answer a question on that topic. Until then, blessed beast. Bye.